How was your 4th of July weekend? A little different this year, right? Oh my God, was it? Here in Atlanta, folks celebrated the 4th of July by killing 2 adults and 1 7-year-old, 8-year-old little kid. 8-year-old. I'll get to that in a moment. A bunch of people killed in Chicago, all across the country. Are you feeling it yet? Are you feeling the sense of, and if you're only feeling it now, where in the hell have you been? But the sense of a total breakdown here. I really am worried about all this, what's happening. Maybe it's just because media reports are so intense, but it just seems like things are falling apart. The center is not holding. It's like the poem Wasteland. It's beginning to, really beginning to be scary off the chart. I've been talking about, things are getting scary, yada, 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 for some time now. But this is how I feel. One of the reasons that this creeped out feeling is really settling in on me is because the lack of leadership where it concerns the COVID-19 pandemic. We are just being beaten to death in this country, and it can only get, as experts have been warning us, worse, much worse, and even worse than much worse. It's just happening. I looked at some of the video on network news reports on Sunday of people of various places around the country, Jacksonville, Michigan, Southern California, Texas, people just in huge crowds, no masks, no social distancing. It's just astonishing. Something has clicked off in the minds of Americans. Maybe it's always been off. I don't know. Here in Atlanta, in Georgia, we have open carry law. You can carry your weapon any place you want to carry it, and as a result of that, people are being shot dead in the street. That has nothing to do with the coronavirus, does it, Mike? It keeps coming back to me because yesterday I watched a press conference with Mayor Keisha Bottoms and the mother of the 8-year-old who was shot dead in her car. The kid was riding in the parent's car, and somebody shooting off their gun shot this child to death. And it's almost unbearable to even think about what these parents are going through. It's just unspeakable tragedy. But local officials in these states around the country, with the surging COVID-19 cases, issued some dire warnings yesterday about the spread of these infections. And local officials are now blaming outbreaks in their communities on the early reopenings that have been ordered by state governors who should be horsewhipped for doing this. But some of these state governors are just ignorant slobs who suck up to Donald Trump or don't care about the science. Look, the bottom line here, this virus is spreading at a pace that is staying way ahead of containment efforts, what few we have. And it's just not. It's not going to stop. God damn it! It's just not going to stop. It's going to get worse and worse, and more people are going to die because of a lack of leadership, a lack of planning. I think I shared with you, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, no, it was Friday, that Bob Alexander had sent me the article about what we are facing. And who's paying attention to this? Sunday morning, after Molly and I did our 4.5 mile, I'm going to die from the heat and humidity because I'm an old man, exercises. Woo! 4.5 miles in the heat and humidity, but have to do it. After that, after showering and fixing Molly's breakfast, and she had some things to do, I went to a friend of mine's house who, guy I've known for, 47 years. And he said, you need to come over Sunday morning sometime. We play croquet. What? Croquet? He said, yeah, it's what else you going to do? He said, it's fun. Come on over. So I went over Sunday morning. And my friend Jack and 3 people that I knew from theater days were there, 2 of whom are now school teachers. And so I watched for a while the 4 of them played a couple of rounds or whatever you call it of croquet. They had a different game going. They weren't playing standard croquet, but they had a different game going. And I told Jack, I told the other guys, I said, this reminds me when I was a kid, my grandmother used to have a croquet set. And when my cousins would come over to my grandmother's house, we would play croquet. I said, I vaguely remember what the game consisted of. So I watched them for about half an hour while they were finishing up the game. And then one of the guys decided to take a break, go sit under a tree in Jack's backyard. He has an enormous backyard. So I got to step in and play croquet. And as we're playing, I noticed that all 5 of us stayed a good 6 feet apart. Now, these are people who have been following all the social separation rules and wearing masks and so forth. We didn't have masks on while we were playing. But everybody kept a good 6-7 feet apart. It was kind of weird, but as I said, two of the guys there are now school teachers, one of whom is moving from Georgia up to Virginia. I think he's had enough Georgia. We were talking about the reopening of the schools, if and when it's going to happen, under what conditions. In the county that we live in, that is the school district in which Molly lives, they are just such stumblebums, such assholes. They haven't come up with a plan yet. Here we are, a week into July. They haven't come up with a plan yet. They haven't. They took a survey, an online survey that the kids were supposed to participate in. But in talking to these 2 school teachers who teach in the school system that Molly attends, in which we live, they both said, look, any plan to open up the schools is not going to happen. He said, for one simple reason, the school teachers are not going to do it. And the kids, he said, how, now we're talking high school kids here, how can you convince high schoolers to keep their distance, to keep masks on? And aside from high schoolers, how do you tell middle schoolers and elementary schoolers to do that? It can't be done. It can't be done. Which is not something that I wanted to hear for Molly's sake. She's a rising junior in high school. She's already, she had her whole life canceled insofar as school-related activities and projects and Girl Scouts and swimming team, all of it in the first week in March. But I just wonder how she and all of her friends who are all, in high school together, how they're going to cope with this. So the plan now, there is no plan, but the rumors now are the kids are going to have to do remote learning again with their computers, online learning. And the two school teachers were telling me that the kids who most need classroom instruction may be invited to get it, but those are usually kids who, first of all, are on school breakfast and lunch programs, or kids who have parents who work at jobs where they have to go there, whether it's in retail clerking or fast food or sanitation services or house cleaning. You know what I'm talking about. And what about the kids who need the specialized training or the specialized instruction? Kids who are developmentally challenged, kids with autism, kids with Asperger's, whatever. And when you consider all this, as we're playing croquet, for Christ's sake, in the backyard, and my friends, I don't have wealthy friends. I have friends who are solidly middle class, and I have friends who are lower end of that spectrum and working class. I don't have rich friends. These are all working class people. Although one of them does make a damn good living. But we're talking about this reality while we're playing croquet, or a version of croquet. And I noticed as the conversation went on, we had these, what do you call them? The mallets were not rectangular, rectangular shaped, solid wooden rectangles on the bottom of the stick. And I noticed as the conversation went on, I'm hitting the croquet ball harder and harder. Interesting. But the conversation went on. The heat and the humidity kept going up. We kept playing croquet because there was really nothing else to do in that moment. And the conversation from my four friends, all of whom are, they're smart people, they're well educated, they're all Democrats too, by the way. I don't have any Republican friends, obviously. Don't want any, frankly. But the conversation just kept getting more and more, not by design, but just by the circumstances of what we were talking about, getting more and more frightening. Not depressing, but frightening. And more anxious. And more wondering what the hell is going on. Now, I'm the only one out of the five guys that were there today who has a child still in high school. I think one of them has a kid still in college. The other one have adult children who are finished with their education. So I was kind of the odd man in that game. But the worries of all of us are basically the same. And it boils down to this. Things are falling apart. The center is not holding. What is going to happen?
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast, or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.